Before I start, let me just check my audio. I might not be able to because last time stream wasn't showing up on my channel, but if not, I'll just go ahead and keep talking and make sure my mouth is close to the mic. But I watched the Celtics Warriors game last night, and it was a great game. Even though the Warriors have five All-Stars, really six if you're counting Iguodala. Back in his prime, Iguodala was an All-Star, and he's still a solid player. He just comes off the bench, and his role has been reduced a lot, but still a great player. But watching that game, to me, I think the Celtics have the best personnel to beat the Warriors. To me, the Celtics remind me of a Warriors team when they first had, when they didn't have Kevin Durant and DeMarcus Cousins. Not saying they have the same exact personnel, but when I say they remind me of the Warriors, they have one great scorer in Kyrie Irving, and they have a bunch of guys who can play their role really well. They have a bunch of lone guys who can defend. Some of them can get their own bucket, like Jason Tatum and Al Horford sometimes, and sometimes Morris. He can get his own bucket every once in a while. And guys like coming up the bench like Terry Rozier and Baines, who come in, do their job, solid players, solid role players. But to me, in order for them to really have a chance at contending with the Warriors, they need another superstar. If not, if they make it to the finals with this team, I think they can push the Warriors maybe to 5 or 6 games, just because I believe Kyrie will have some unbelievable nights when he's just on fire, and the role players will just play unbelievable. But at the end of the day, the Warriors just have too many players who can get their own bucket. They have 3 elite guys who do not need a play to be called for them, such as Curry, Durant, and DeMarcus. Now, if you want to say Curry doesn't show up in the finals, I'll give you that, because the defense really intensifies in the finals. And Curry's, while he can't get his own bucket, a lot of his buckets comes off of him running around screens and stuff like that, and coming off of missed shots to him relocating to the three-point line, losing his man. So if you want to say they have 2 elite bucket getters in DeMarcus Cousins and Durant, or if you want to say they just have 1 elite bucket getter and 2 pretty solid guys who can get their buckets, the elite one being Durant and the 2 solid guys in DeMarcus and Curry being able to get their own buckets, I'll give you that. But at the end of the day, the Celtics only have 1 elite guy who can get the bucket, and not even really a solid second guy who can get their bucket. If you say Jason Tatum, I wouldn't give you that, just because he's not very consistent as far as getting his buckets by himself. They need at least one more solid guy to do that for them. The Celtics, what they do have a lot of guys who can defend. A lot of lone guys who are capable of shooting a 3. They may not be the best shooters, but they're about average or league average or a bit above that. They do have an elite coach. But when you have Durant going off for 33 and Curry going off for 24, Klay Thompson getting 21, and then you still have DeMarcus getting 15, that's hard to match. Now, Irvin did have 32, which is a great game. Al Horford had a great game in 22. Irvin had 32, and Jason Tatum did have 20. But a lot of those buckets came off of assists. When I say elite bucket getters, they're able to get their bucket without an assist efficiently. Tatum did have a few shots where he got his own bucket, but when the game slows down, when the team knows all of your plays, and it's basically coming down to the one-on-one guys telling the other players to get out my way and just get ready for the shot, the Warriors have the Celtics beat. And to me, the Celtics are the only team who I see who will even have who could take the Warriors to maybe 6 games in the East. Now, if you mention the Bucks and if you mention the Raptors, while they do have good teams, I won't give you that. I just think the Celtics have much better personnel, in my personal opinion. Now, as far as the superstars, Kawhi, Giannis, and Kyrie in the East. If you want to say Giannis or Kawhi is better than Kyrie, I'll give you that. But I just think Kyrie has a much better team around him. Even though the Bucks are doing great right now in the East, and the Raptors are doing pretty good now in the East, even though they lost to the Rockets, and I couldn't believe that. With James Harden was basically playing with a bunch of role players. He's not basically playing. He was playing with a bunch of role players and a new Kenneth Fareed, who they just signed a couple not too long ago. And I definitely like Fareed. I watched the game live. And to me, Kenneth Fareed was doing really well on the switches. And if he can do that consistently, he's going to be a really, really important piece for them in the playoffs. I want to watch him some more to make sure that what I saw against the Raptors was not just a fluke. But the way he was defending Kawhi in the switches and the other guards on the switches, he was doing pretty well. If he can do that, like I said, he'll be a great piece in the playoffs. And that's a team in the West who I can see the Warriors taking the Warriors to at least 5 or 6 games, especially if Chris Paul comes back healthy and is playing at an elite level. But you never know with Chris Paul. These last few years he's been very injury prone. But definitely wish the best to him in the Rockets and all teams in the NBA. But yeah, it was a great game. I can't wait to watch the playoffs. And hopefully they meet, or hopefully they make some type of big trade. If the Raptors, the Celtics, or the Bucks can land another superstar, they can take the Warriors to at least 6 or 7 games. But if they don't, then it's the playoffs are just going to be, I'm not saying they're going to be boring, while they might have some great games in the finals, whichever team makes it, between the Celtics, the Raptors, or the Bucks. At the end of the day, we are all going to know that the Warriors are going to win it eventually, just because they have too much talent and too many guys who can get their own buckets. But one thing that kind of hurts the Warriors is that DeMarcus Cousins, he's not very good on the switches. He has slow feet, and he's not really good at guarding the guards from the perimeter. So that can definitely hurt them. And I saw that last night, that they took DeMarcus out of the game towards the end of the game. But if the game throughout those first 3 quarters, if the Warriors, if the game is pretty close, I see them keeping DeMarcus in, just because when Curry or Durant or Klay Thompson is struggling from the field, you can just throw DeMarcus in at the post and he can get you some foul shots or an easy bucket. But we'll see. One of these teams needs to land another superstar, and I hope somebody lands. I don't know who it could be. Anthony Davis, Kawhi, I don't know, but they need somebody.